Hey everybody, welcome to Cruise Week TV. I am here with Cruise Director Tim Connor on Oasis of the Seas live. Thanks for joining me. I know you've got a really busy schedule.
It is very busy on here. We are one of the world's biggest 3 cruise ships, and consequently it's one of the busiest 3.
I know, the last 7 days I've seen you running around everywhere, hosting shows, doing that. How do you keep your energy up?
Well, conveniently, as you can maybe see behind me in the shot here, we got a Starbucks on board, and they pretty much sponsor me, and without them and 10 double espressos a day, I probably wouldn't function. So.
I did notice that. I saw you keep going back,
yeah,
having
I drink
those
a lot of coffee, probably more than I should do, but it keeps me going. So, yeah.
Right. So what time does your day begin in the morning?
Well, as long as no phone calls wake me up earlier than they should do. Normally, the first thing I have is an 8:30 meeting in the morning with the hotel director and some of the other senior managers here on board. And then, of course, depending on what is happening there, whether it's a sea day or a port day, then we go from there.
Oh, wow. So what time does your day finally end? I know you've been doing some shows like quite late at night.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the million-dollar question, because it varies quite considerably. Now, some nights I finish after some of the main shows will conclude at around anywhere from 11 through to 12:15, like last night you were there at the Quest, we finished just after midnight. And on other days then from there, it's not necessarily right, we're done and I can go to bed now, because of course it's a big ship, so I've got a lot of admin to do. We've got 200 staff here on board just in entertainment from all the different casts. You've also got all the sports facilities, the youth, the cruise director staff, all the technicians, musicians. So it's a massive undergoing here. And so, sometimes you're up late, early into the morning, 1, 2 a.m. trying to get stuff done, ready for the next day, or stuff that needs to be addressed when it's quiet. Because during the daytime, as you know, it's a lot of running around and can get a bit manic.
So on a ship like this, how much backstage paperwork stuff are you doing and how much front of house stuff do you do?
Well, it's interesting because it varies across the fleet, the size of the ship you're on. I've been fortunate enough over the years to work in everything from some of our smaller ships like the Rhapsody of the Seas, which is 2,400 guests, all the way up to here on Oasis, which is 6,500 guests. So again, you talk about the size of the teams. They range from my team on Rhapsody was about 63 people, and here we're just shy of 200. So, the paperwork goes along with that as well. So on this particular class of ship, for me personally, it's probably about 80 to 85% back of house.
Yeah.
It's like an iceberg. What you see in the front and the mad running around and the shows and the events, obviously that's the stuff I love and enjoy and I'm passionate about, the game shows. But here is it's a big undertaking to keep the business running, which of course is what we're here overall, and to make sure that everything's ready for all these events, the game shows, and that we've got the staff here on board, and if there's any personnel issues or HR technical, that we're all set and ready to go.
Oh wow! Now, how did you? Because last time I was on Oasis, Drew was the cruise director.
Mr. Drew Devine, yeah.
Yeah. So how did you step into his shoes and the ship?
Well, I have spent, I've been on here nearly 4 months now. I'm just coming to the end of my contract. But for the year prior to that, I was on our sister ship, Allure of the Seas, which as you know is identical, just a different set of shows there on board. So I spent a year on there, 2 5-month contracts. And then the decision was made to bring myself over here to Oasis. So for me, it was coming to Oasis specifically was a reasonably easy transition, because I'd already done the Allure, which is a very similar product. So when you step into one of these ships, if you're stepping in for the first time on this class of ship, we have what's called a 2-week handover. So there's 2 weeks where there's 2 cruise directors here on board. There's the one that's been here that knows the operation, because they're run very differently from the rest of the fleet, these Oasis class. And then at the end of that 2 weeks, then of course they switch over. If you've already had experience, or as you're the permanent cruise director, so currently, as I've been told, but this could change, I'm the permanent on here, so that means for my next contract I will come back here again. Gotcha. As it's my ship, so to speak, there's no need for me to have a handover when I come back in. But if you're moving ship to ship, when I first joined Oasis, I had, I think it was about 4 or 5 days, just to kind of get into the groove of this, because although it's the same as the Allure, it's a slightly different schedule, different people to work with, so you've got to kind of find your footing before you let go and ready to run.
Now, some of your team I've asked questions about, and they've told me that ships run in your family.
Yes, this is very true. It is very true. Yeah, so it's an interesting backstory. So both my parents worked at sea. My mum was at sea for 27 years. My dad was at sea for 35 years. So my mum was a dancer, and she ended up being a choreographer. And my dad first started off back in the 60s working for Norwegian Line. My mum's English, my dad's from Scotland. Yeah. And at the time he was a musician, and he was working on they call them the immigrant runs, where you used to pay £10 out the UK, which, you know, like $12, but this is like, say, back in the 60s. And it was a one-way trip, 6 weeks from the UK down to Australia for people to immigrate. And all that was on board at the time was really a show band, and that was about it. Right. You know, and that's what
the old style of cruising.
Yeah, old school. Yeah, and even
on.
then, it wasn't even really cruising per se, because it was more sort of serving a purpose to get you from A to B, more of a mode of transport. So he did that for a few years, and then from there he went into other crew lines and ended up on Cunard. So he was on Cunard for 5 years, which is where he met my mother. My mother, they met on the QE2, the two of them. So on the QE2, he was a guitar player in the orchestra, my mum was a head dancer. So they did 5 years on Cunard together, and there were certain times during that era that it was literally like ships passing in the night, because they were both doing transatlantics but on different ships. So they were back and forth, and they ended up on the same ship again, and they were split up. So they did that for 5 years, and then at the end of that term, they then decided, you know what, we want to be on this together. So they came up with a cabaret. So the two of them started going to different cruise lines, doing a cabaret with my mum performing, dancing. My dad would be playing the guitar and singing. And then after a few years, they went into river cruising in Germany. So they did 5 years on the Rhine, where on the river cruise it only takes a few people to run one of those ships, obviously. And then from there, they then ended up setting up their own production company. A friend of theirs ended up basically chartering a cruise ship for a year long, and asked them to put on all the shows and the entertainment. And so that's what they did for 20 years. And that's when my dad stepped into the position of cruise director. So I grew up at sea, following them around and being homeschooled a bit, spent all my time away. And the older I got, the more I had to stay at home. Yeah. But so that was the family, and then they got out of the business just after 9/11 happened. Obviously, the travel and tourism world kind of took a little bit of a dive for a while. So my mum went in, she started up a drama school. So I was 16 at the time. So I eventually left school when I was 18, and then at the age of 20, I got a random phone call one day from somebody who used to work. My mum was a singer, now was running a company called Travel Scope in the UK. We had one ship. It was a Tuesday afternoon, I remember it well. It was during the spring, birds were singing, beautiful day. And they said that unfortunately they'd had to terminate a stage and production manager, and could I come and help out for 2 weeks to do a fill? Because I also got my background is sound technology and as a DJ. It's like, sure, no problem, 2 weeks, I can do that. 11 years later, I'm still here. So,
exactly.
So that happened.
And you worked your way up, so what made you want to be cruise director?
I don't know, I just kind of fell into it, to be quite honest.
One of those, yeah.
Well, my dad did it.
Usually the best thing.
You know, for me, I'm a social butterfly. You know, I like people. I love entertaining, and I love being out and doing all these great game shows like Belly Flop and Quest, etc. So
steam is glistening off their body in the night. Does your husband look like either a stretch limo, B, a dump truck, or C, a little pink Volkswagen with 2 flat tyres? So once again, does your husband look like either A, stretch limo, B, a dump truck, or C, a little pink Volkswagen with 2 flat tyres?
So that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to do the host, and on some of our smaller ships, and still to this day with Royal Caribbean, with other companies, the smaller ships, you have more of that opportunity as a cruise director to be able to come out and socialise with the guests. Right. And I believe even over at Carnival, they split our position up differently, and their cruise director was just a social host, and then they have an entertainment director back at house. Correct. Where we kind of do both here, which makes it a little bit more challenging. So the bigger the ship, the kind of harder it is to do that kind of front front, or spend as much time front of house as you would like to with the guests. But you know, we still do it. We get out there. We manage to do our walk rounds on the sea days like today, and of course the sea days when we have some of those big events like the belly flop, which I know you saw you there the other day recording that.
Yes.
So it's good fun, but that's what we enjoy, you know.
Yeah. So when you come to a ship like this, how much of a mark and how much changes can you do to put your own personality on things like the Quest show, the belly flop competition?
Well, things like that, I mean, you can change those up as you want. I mean, there's a kind of a standard for it, and then you can kind of work around or put whatever quest you want within reason, or, you know, you can have fun with it. The program as a whole, that is where it gets a little bit more tricky. Again, on this class of ship versus the rest of the fleet. For instance, if you're on like a Voyager class ship, for the most part, we here on the big ships, such as the Oasis class and on some of the other ones, we have to do show reservations, as you know, because we've got so many guests here on board. Our main theatre holds 1,500 people. Right. Our Aqua Theatre and our Ice Rink Studio B hold about 700-800 people. And when you've got 6,500 guests, you don't want everyone to turn up to one show and not be able to get seats. So we have to do the show reservation system. Now, way that makes it difficult in you can't move anything because we have to send that information to Miami 6 months in advance. So I've already planned up until Christmas and New Year for next year. It's already set as far as all the shows. So all the other activities around that aren't related to that. You can kind of fiddle with those. But again, if you go to a smaller ship and you don't have those restrictions of it, you know, guests being booking 6 months in advance, I could say, you know what, this didn't work, so let's tweak the timing for next cruise, and you can change it. Right. But again, here on these, you don't have that luxury. So once you find a recipe, if you like, that works, and a combination of how the cruise flows for the guests, then you keep it, because it's difficult to change it.
Got it. So what's your biggest challenge working on a ship of this size?
People. One way or another. It's of course, we have 6,500 guests and we have 2,200 crew. Again, 200 just in my department. And it's like a mini city. So you can have challenges with guests, you can have challenges with crew. Now, of course, we're here working 7 days a week. We have family, friends back home. And sometimes, you know, there can be death in the family or whatever else, and then we have to work out how to maybe get a crew member home quickly or something like that. Also, we have other issues that crop up, and we have people that are new to the company that need training. Some people work out, some people don't. And so there's a big HR side of the job that you've got to be there, and you've got to be responsible, and you've got to, especially with this many crew, you've got to try as well as you can to let the crew know that you're there for them, because we're here to support them and we want them to feel comfortable to come to us, and if they've got any issues or questions and concerns. So that's a big part of it, and of course trying to keep the guests happy. And nothing's ever perfect in life. Things happen, and there may be issues, and they may have negative experiences, and again, it's making sure that we get that feedback and that we deal with the situation as best as we can to, you know, try and rectify the situation there on the spot, you know.
So what little downtime you get, those hours in a day, what do you like to do?
Sleep. So.
Apart from sleep.
Apart from sleep. I honestly, on here is very difficult. Again, it's just because of the limited amount of time you have to do that. So I try to chill out now and again, watch a little bit of Netflix if I've got half an hour or so. But I have a wife and a son. My son's about to turn 2 in 2 weeks. So when we live in Orlando, so we're only 40 minutes from the port. So right now I've got the added sort of luxury or benefit that they can come cruise regularly. So they normally do 1 week on board, and then they do 2 weeks at home. So they've got this cycle going, so they don't go crazy staying on board too long.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like it works as a balanced medium right now. So when they're on board, obviously I try to spend as much time with them as I can in my free time, which is limited as it is. But then in those 2 weeks they're not on board, I try to make sure I get ahead of myself so that the next time they're on board, anything that may be pending coming up, I've already dealt with in advance. So yeah, but otherwise, if you've got a place to chill out, if you've got time to chill out here on board the Oasis class ships, if you want a nice relaxing time, Central Park's one of my favourite places to hang out. Vintages, wine bar, that's a great place.
Right, great. Yeah, there's a lot of benefits to this, but of course the job is extremely challenging, and there's a lot of people always applying to try to be a cruise director. What would you say is a good personality fit to be one, and what would you say just would not work?
Oh, a good personality to be one. You've got to be able to think on your feet, I would say. You've got to like people, because you've got to be able to take the good with the bad on that front. Of course, you've got to be approachable. And you've got to have a certain amount of energy for it. You know, as I say, it's long hours, it's 7 days a week, and all the crew here work 7 days a week for however many months they're on board, anywhere from 10 weeks to 9 months some of the crew are here. And then of course, you don't just come from a land-based job into the position of cruise director.
Right.
Pretty much all our cruise directors have worked their way up internally through the company, and there's just a couple within the fleet that have come as a cruise director from another company.
Got it.
But for the most part, see, you work your way up through. As for what wouldn't work, people who don't like people, that's definitely a no-no there. And if you're quiet, timid, and you like your own space and your own time, this is not the place for you, because you have no personal space, you have no your own time, and it's all about everyone else. So yeah, they're the main things I would say. But again, you'd come in as a crew staff. That's the way our succession here on Royal Caribbean is. You come in as a crew staff, so you run all the daily activities and events, your trivias and all the game shows. From there, you then move up to activities manager, which you then oversee that program and the daily events and activities. Exactly. So, like some companies, and even we used to call it assistant cruise director. We now call it activities manager because they manage the activities. And then from there, you move up to cruise director. So that's succession. And then the cruise director is a division head. And as I say, all the other cast and everything else comes under that one umbrella.
Oh wow, excellent. So, in closing, what would you recommend for a first-time cruiser? Obviously, when you come onto a ship, particularly Oasis, you're not prepared. If you've never been on a cruise ship before, you're just so overwhelmed. What advice would you give to somebody? Because I know my first cruise, I didn't even know there was a main dining room.
Yeah.
I ate in the buffet the whole time. So I mean, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Oasis is so
my
much
main
bigger.
advice, and don't take this in the wrong way, but get lost. And what I mean by that is go out there, explore the ship, get lost. Don't worry about looking at a map. Walk down the promenade, go explore, find out what there is. When I first came to Allure a year ago, or a year and a half ago now, I knew all the venues I was there. It took me 4 days, and I worked for the company, to find every little venue. That's everything from like the libraries, the card rooms, all the main venues, because on here specifically, there are so many places to find. And the best way you're going to learn your way around is to go and explore. And the amount of times I'll be standing in a venue, and even on smaller ships. I was on a Radiance class once, and our main secondary lounge was at the back of the ship, and I remember standing in there on the last night, and a gentleman came in and he went, "Oh, what's this room then?" Like, this is like where we do most of our game shows. Oh, I wonder where that was. And you know,
You're right.
so you've got to get out there, you've got to explore, and there's so much on offer on these ships. We've got amazing shows. Again, we've got the ice room. We've got our main theatre, the Opal Theatre, where we do Cats on this particular ship. We have different Broadway shows in the other ships, headliner shows. You've got the Aqua Theatre with all the comedy dive shows and the belly flop competition, the World's Sexiest Man. The pool decks, you've got all these 27 bars, because 26 wasn't enough. The specialty restaurants, you've got the park, you've got the flow riders, the sports facilities, you've got library, you've got all these different areas. So get out there, explore it, because there's going to be something for everyone here. And that's why these ships specifically are so great, because you can come on here as a multiple generation family, from the grandkids just a few months old, 6, 7 months old from the nursery, all the way up to the grandparents. And we've got a jazz lounge downstairs if you want to keep it cool and laid back. We've got the nightclub going through to 3, 4 in the morning. So there's something for everyone. So go out there, explore, and then of course your daily program, doesn't matter what cruise line or what ship you're on, that's your daily Bible on board. That's going to list your events, your activities, your opening hours. So keep that on you, because a lot of times sometimes you will stumble on things by mistake. But a lot of the time, you'll find your guy there. What do you fancy doing? Do you fancy taking part in something basic like a trivia? Do you want a dance class, or do you want to just bake in the sun? So
yeah, there's definitely so much going on. Also, one thing I've noticed on a class of ship like this, you can never do everything in one cruise.
No.
So it's like Disney World. You come back and you can do a whole different set of stuff again on the same ship. You're never bored.
When you come off one of these ships, you need a vacation, because
right.
yeah, there's so much running around, and I frequently hear that, which is we've done 7 days and we need to go home for a vacation, because you come on here with the intention to relax, and you can do, but then you see, oh well, this is on offer and you don't want to miss out on this, you don't want to miss out on this, and so they run to see all the different shows throughout the week, and it's they're trying to keep up with me. I'm 3 steps ahead of them, trying to get there to take on the show.
Right, I agree. Okay, thanks ever so much, Tim.
No,
I
welcome. Thanks for
really
having me, Zach.
appreciate that.
And we hope to see you here as well on board the Oasis.
Oh yeah.